among those around me. And the warmth that I am embraces. I embrace self, yourself, himself, herself, their self, itself. I am self. And I ignite the flame within myself and yourself and all the other types of selves that are out there. What I'm saying is, basically, I ignite inspiration in others to light the fire within themselves. So light that shit.
Friday, I had a realization. Like, you know when you think about being free, freedom and stuff, and I'm like hearing you say all the things, and I'm just like, yo, what is the definition and the source of freedom? Like, where did the inspiration for the word even come from? And I think that the inspiration from the word came from literally living with no fear.
You know, it's like when people talk about fear, I don't think fear is such a bad thing because it's an indication that, you know, of how your physical space is aligning with whatever decision and space you're moving into. And if you embrace that, and the freedom comes when you don't place a judgment on that being there in the first place.
On it being the bad thing.
Right. Yeah. And when you move towards something fearful and, you know, that's like a whole other conversation, but sometimes when we move towards what will free us, it scares us because we might be getting everything that we wanted. And you're afraid to disappoint the picture in your mind. So for me, freedom is not being trapped by anyone else's perceptions of what I decide to do. And if I make a choice, I'm not held to that consequence of whether it was a good or a bad choice. Like, it's just, I'm just existing, I'm just being, I'm creating, I'm living. If it doesn't work, that's up to me to decide, like, what I do next.
Well, I'm glad you just said that because that's where my freedom comes from.
Talk about it.
That is where it resonates with me.
Where's that?
Yeah. And I think that's because they have access to the vulnerability because of the dimensionality of our ancestors, right? They existed in this physical space and transcended through this spiritual space. So it allows us to it reminds me in my humanity to connect, right? So that the fear of it all, the things of it all, the experiences of it all, they become more true and less hard, less difficult, because I know that in between it exists, and when it's present through the hymnals, through the language of poetry, it becomes even truer. So I can feel free, I can feel vulnerable.
It's so nice to feel vulnerable. It's so nice to be soft sometimes.
It does feel good. And when you can find people who you can kind of unleash that with in a very intimate way, it's very beautiful.
Yes.
What do you think we can do to change that?
More things like this.
Like community.
More opportunities for us to just sit down and talk to each other, because I feel like, you know, in the normal space, you know, we see each other, but we don't get the time to really like let our layers down and like put our walls down. There's still like this thing about us of putting on this air, whatever it is that we're trying to put on. But I feel like the space was like really great, like fostering like such a vulnerable time for us to just like talk and I feel like I learned so much about everyone, and I felt like, you know, like a lot of the things you guys are saying, like I feel like it's like my experience, and like we don't get to have that on a daily basis, where you just feel like you relate, like y'all get it, like, you know what I'm saying, you understand. You know?
Being around people who understand you is so vital, because of society and the way that things are set up, we're around people who automatically just misunderstand us by the first look, you know. So being allowed the space where you find community, find women who face the same adversity, it is very liberating. And I would say also choosing the right men, choosing the right jobs, environments, like where we could be vulnerable and soft, that's important too. And I think a lot of times we're conditioned not to. We're conditioned to stick things out way too long, and even like with jobs that don't make you happy, you're just like, okay, this is a great job, like great title.
I love that it's a physical representation of this experience.
Yeah,
Like we're building
Something
it together.
that no matter where you are in life, you know that we built this together.
Yeah, exactly.
Facts, and you could bring it up years down the line, you'll be mad old. Oh, stop! Like that's it.